So this is how it all began. Growing up in Philadelphia, I was raised in a house where there was a lot of music being played. I listened to R&B, jazz, rock, and I loved all types of music. Going to high school is really where the story really picks up, because one day my biology teacher had received tickets that was given through a community service organization in Philadelphia, and there were tickets to go see a particular performance at the Academy of Music. I raised my hand, and I was the only one in the class who raised my hand to get the tickets, and I didn't even know where I was going. And living in Philadelphia, I'd heard about the Academy of Music, but had never been there at that point in my entire life. But that evening, I got on the subway, got in my best church clothes, and went down to the Academy of Music. And unbeknownst to me, it was an opening night for an incredible performance that was about to change my life. And when I got there, I was the only African-American teenager standing on the steps, and it was an opening night for an incredible performance. And when I went inside and went to the balcony, and that performance was done by the one and only classical soprano, Leontine Price. My life changed as I listened to the orchestra, as I listened to her incredible, incredible gift that just resonated, and I felt the music literally going through my heart. And at that moment, I knew my life was not going to be the same. So, back to my home life, my father played the radio all the time, and he was a jazz head. And he would always be playing jazz, and my mother would listen to some things that were gospel. She would also listen to R&B. She was a definite person who loved, in her era, she was listening to Smokey Robinson, The Temptations, and I had that growing up in my house. So I really developed a love for all types of music, not just gospel music, but other genres as well. And through that experience, it really opened an avenue to let me know that it wasn't just about one culture, that music was in every facet of every life. No matter where you go across this planet, music is an integral part of every single culture. And I'm very appreciative of, and this is still what drives me to this day. Well, the first turning point for me after having that experience of hearing Leontine Price, it opened up now this avenue of more classical, diving more into classical music. So I got to see Pavarotti, I've got to see the three tenors, I got to experience the Philadelphia Orchestra, but it also immersed me even more so into a culture that very few African Americans were even a part of. And so when given the opportunity to be there over and over again, and once again, back to my biology teacher, he was that conduit that once again would always get the tickets, and I was the only one that would take the tickets, and I absolutely loved it. It's funny because when you go, you don't know how to dress up for opening nights, and so what I had was my church clothes, and I went there, and I didn't mind being by myself. As a matter of fact, it gave me the opportunity to really just embrace what I was hearing, embrace the environment, and also gave me an opportunity to know how to maneuver. And this is not about code switching at all, as much as it is, it's a big, beautiful, multicultural world. And I learned very early on how to navigate and still be authentically me. One of my earliest gifts, I guess you'll call it that, I have a talent for singing, which I really don't use that much, but my parents knew that I had it, particularly my mother. And so she enrolled me into a community play, or if you want to call it that way, because back then there were a lot of community programs that were going on across neighborhoods and things of that nature. And so I got signed up by her girlfriend, who was affiliated with her neighborhood, and she and her kids would always be a part of a talent show. So I was asked to come and perform, and I got an opportunity to perform the song by Roberta Flack called "Killing Me Softly." Well, I'm just singing the song because I love to sing it, but I had no idea that when it was over, there was a talent scout that was sitting in the audience who wanted to sign me as a child. I was like 12 or 13 years old. But my mother was very careful and very vehement about not letting me get into show business. I don't know if that was because of her faith. I don't know what that was about, but I think, and when I think about it, she was trying to protect me from an industry that probably she didn't know anything about. But it was very instrumental for me just to know that what I had already been growing up in and listening to, it was already taking shape in my own life. And it really gave me such an ear for the type of music that I still listen to this day. Still listen to R&B, I still listen to classical, which is my favorite. Still listen to gospel music, but particularly I want to see independent artists soar in areas that, once again, there wasn't room for you, but we're making room for you. So, fast forward, I've kind of left some of the music behind once I had gotten married and started to have a family. So I really put a lot of myself into raising my little kids. And one of the things that was really, really passionate about is just participating in my church. And one particular year, I was asked to be a head of a department. It was a family life department. And so with our small little family, I took on the position, but what I didn't want is to be separate. I didn't want it to be something that was for older people and something that was for the young people. But I thought it was so important to have a cohesive program that brought everybody together. And so here comes my music again, my love for it. And so I would actually have on music programs that everybody could come to. And every single program, I always was met with, this was fantastic, we need more of this. And the more I did it, my husband took notice of really a talent that I kind of thought I had put away. And he said, I think you should do this on a professional basis. But what did that mean? Being somebody that is who appreciates music is completely different from now talking about diving into the industry. But I decided, well, let me go ahead and give it a shot. Didn't know anybody, didn't know anything about it, but all I had was my passion for it. And so I started a production company called Out on a Limb Productions. And with that, because now at this point, Christian hip hop is now coming onto the scene. And I'm a fan of The Truth, and I'm a fan of Lecrae, and I'm a fan of when they were still independent artists, and still are, but when you think about carrying their CDs in their cars and things of that nature, I'm talking about that era. So my first big production, I found out about a tour that 116 was doing, and they were going to various cities, and that included Lecrae, that included Tadashi, Sho Baraka, the whole 116 gang. And I have to give a shout out to Humble Tip, who's now at Liberty University, who gave me a tip, no pun intended, that they were going to be coming into the city, and maybe I could reach out to them and bring them to the Philadelphia area. I did that, and they chose Philadelphia as one of their stops. So, but now, because like I said, I don't know much about where I should house them, I asked my church. Okay, hold on. I asked my church. And so the church said, sure, okay, no problem. So I'm thinking, okay, this is probably gonna be, a couple hundred people. We'll put it out there, and they put it on their tour stop. They were coming to Philadelphia. Well, the church that seats about approximately 800 people had probably roughly about 14 or 1,600 that packed the church. So much so that I was afraid the fire marshal was going to come and shut the whole thing down. But when I tell you, it was the most electrifying event that I have still to this date amazing memories of. And it once again immersed me in another area of independent artistry, which is the Christian hip hop. And man, I have not looked back. to this day, I'm still a Christian hip hop head. In 2016, I moved from Out on the Limb Productions because really when you're first starting a production company, and as I said earlier, you don't know much about the industry. So, in true transparency, there were things that I didn't do right, and I didn't know exactly how to set up areas of where they can go ahead and perform, and I didn't know much about really the marketing aspect of it. Popularity is not a substitute for doing your homework. And so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to close the door on that, and maybe, just maybe, this is not something I should be doing. But I will say that I had, even through Outland Productions, I've had the opportunity to work with some incredible artists that are mainstream to this day when nobody really knew who they were. Talking about Tasha Cobbs, Thomas Clay, Anita Wilson when she was first started, and so many more, and it was absolutely amazing. And so I thought I would just go ahead and close the door on that experience. But it was still something tugging on my heart, like, you weren't done, Patrice. There's more in store for you. And then I decided in 2016, I would start my new company, Indigo Inspire. And with that, it has literally, from that point on in 2016, my life really has not been the same. In the beginning of Indigo Inspire, one of the things I had definitely learned through my Out on a Limb production days was there was so much information that independent artists did not know. And I wanted to make sure that they had the education and the opportunity to be in rooms with individuals that could take their careers to the next level. And so through that, I really honed into making opportunities for them to perform. Now I began the conferences through the Indigo Inspire music conferences here in Philadelphia, as well as connecting them with professionals through graphic design, through branding, through media, through radio, through social media, and all the different platforms to this day that I still have major relationships with. And they have also grown and soared in such a way that they are still sort of my secret power, my secret bag of just information to help and take you to the next level. And so I'm very thankful that I curated those relationships that I have to this day. And we as a collective are so excited to help you take your career to the next level. For the independent artist that's watching me right now, I want to tell you the first thing is believe in yourself. Get the right team behind you that can help guide you along the way. Through my experiences after all these years, I'm telling you that you can do it, but there is a process, and you have to give yourself room to follow those steps. And together, with your ideas, with your drive, together with the ingredient of Indigo Inspire, I promise you, you'll go much further than you would by yourself. And you can go by yourself, but your steps will definitely be much longer. And when you have the right connection, even if it's not with me, it will take you a lot further than having you just go around the desert for 40 years. I promise you, you need a team. You need people that believe in you, but most importantly, you have to believe in yourself and do the work.